Hey animal lovers, and welcome back to this YouTube channel on communication and social life of parrots. This video will cover some aspects of the behavior and social life of Steffi, Pippi, Jenny and Dani, my 4 red lord Amazon parrots. In the 1980s, in the southeastern part of Germany, there was a famous TV show on a little kobold called Pumuckl. Pumuckl lived with Mr. Eder, who was some sort of an adoptive parent of Pumuckl. Mr. Eder was running a carpenter's shop, and Pumuckl, kobolding around, decreased Mr. Eder's productivity, distracted Mr. Eder a lot, and often cheeked Mr. Eder's customers. I'm a big fan of the minions too, as their behavior often resembles parrot behavior. Living with a group of Amazon parrots is like living with Pumuckl and the minions. So let's look into what makes parrots so funny and kobold-like, but at the same time challenging pets. First, I'll discuss their personalities, then sexes and genders, bonds and hierarchy, and at the end, we take a look at how life in the group affects their behavior. Amazon parrots are striking heads with distinct characteristic traits. No two individuals are the same. I'll just take the liberty of applying the human personality dimension scale to my parrots, because you may relate more easily to dimensions you are familiar with. The so-called Big Five are openness to experience, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Please be aware that the scaling here ranges from 5/0 to -5. A 5 in neuroticism would mean to be very high in neuroticism. Such an individual would often overreact and be very dramatic. A -5 would mean to be very low in neuroticism. Such an individual would not care about anything too much. A 0 in neuroticism would mean to be emotionally stable. So there are two extremes to each dimension as indicated by plus and -5. And a 0 would mean to be balanced in the particular dimension. Besides neuroticism, there are also openness to experience versus trying to avoid new experiences, conscientiousness versus impulsiveness, extraversion versus introversion, agreeableness versus antagonism or incompatibility. Dani is a quite balanced individual. He has no outstanding personality dimensions. He is quite open-minded, reliable and agreeable. If he were a human, he would be considered as an easygoing guy, but who can and will stand his ground whenever someone challenges him. The females' personalities are more complex. Steffi is very low in agreeableness. She is low in openness and extraversion, but she is very high in neuroticism and conscientiousness. She is very resourceful, diligent, and smart. Pippi is quite special. All of her personality dimensions are somewhat extreme. She's extremely open and extroverted. She is very low in conscientiousness and neuroticism, and she's extremely low in agreeableness. She's always asking for trouble, spoiling for a fight, and she loves to act bossy. Dealing with Pippi and accompanying Pippi through life is challenging for other parrots and me. She's aware of what a smarty Steffi is and knows in which situations she should watch Steffi closely and follow Steffi's example. Pippi often annoys Steffi and Steffi is often angry at Pippi. Jenny is very low in openness and extraversion, but she's high in conscientiousness and agreeableness. And like Steffi, she's very high in neuroticism. She's a smarty too. How Jenny and Pippi complement each other is so lovely and heartwarming. Well, by now, you can probably see where this is going. There are often conflicts of interest among the females, and the females have a lot to figure out. Sometimes I'm a bit sorry for Danny. He's exposed to lots of drama and squabbling, but he always finds a way to get by somehow. Before we discuss sex and gender-related issues, I should point out again and emphasize that my parrots are castrated. Otherwise, they would not live in such relative harmony year in, year out. However, my videos are not intended to promote castration of parrots. It's a super tough decision whether a parrot should be castrated or not. Whether Steffi and Dani should be castrated kept me thinking for almost 1 year. I didn't take the decision lightly. After all, parrots live to a very old age. They can easily live up to be 50 years old. If you decide to castrate a young parrot, you take away that parrot's ability to reproduce forever. This makes them worthless for breeders, it reduces the genetic diversity of their species and takes away some of your parrot's life options, in case you are no longer able to care for them yourself at some point. On the other hand, you also take away their pressure to reproduce, which is much greater for parrots than for us humans, due to their biology and violent hormonal fluctuations. In the end, I castrated them because Steffi and Dani are siblings. Pippi and Jenny were already castrated before I met them. Besides, I am young enough to hope that I can grow old together with my parrots. So again, my videos are not intended to promote castration. Rather, I'm in favor of deciding what is best on a case-by-case basis. Through biology and hormonal changes during breeding season, a couple of months each year, parrots often turn from relatively easygoing fellows into scaring, aggressive individuals you would not want to meet without a full-face helmet and protective clothing. It's like a switch flip when breeding season starts, and there is nothing you can do to calm them down for as long as their hormone levels are set for reproduction. During that time, pairs withdraw from their groups. After breeding, they and their young return to the group. If my parrots were not castrated, they would go nuts during breeding season, and I could not keep them as a group. Dani would probably select one of the females, and he and his chosen one would try to get rid of the other 2 females. Maybe he and Pippi would try to kill each other. And even as castrated individuals, they are still edgier during breeding season. As I said about a minute ago, Dani is a very balanced and easygoing individual. If he were driving a vehicle, he would do it like that. However, despite being castrated, from March until July, so during breeding season, he turns into something like that. Steffi and Jenny get a bit more neurotic than usual, and Pippi tends to be a bit edgier than usual during breeding season. Despite very little to no sexual dimorphism in terms of appearance, at least as far as we humans can tell with our limited vision and limited hearing, behavioral differences between males and females are quite pronounced in parrots. Males are prone to rivalry. They seem to learn much better when there's someone to compete with. It's impressive how fast Dani and other males can learn human words, songs, and other very complex stuff when they have a good reason for learning. My parents are keeping a quite old male Red Lord Amazon parrot, who has never shown much interest in humans. But when he saw Steffi for the first time and realized that humans love to talk and chat with Steffi and that Steffi likes this sort of attention a lot, he suddenly started using human words too. My parents were speechless when they realized that their almost 40 years old parrot suddenly used words like "Hallo, alles gut." With the right motivation, male parrots can apparently learn many things very quickly.
Alex was a parrot.
Alex, what toy? Nail. Nail, that's right, you're a good birdie. How many?
Accordingly, via the model rival method,
2. Good parrot. Good boy. 1, 2.
Irene Pepperberg's Alex learned over 100 different words
You be good.
and used them in a meaningful, witty way.
Bye. I love you.
What do you think of learning? How do you feel when you learn? Good.
Females seem different here. They learn well via Jennifer Cunha's method.
Which one goes with happy? Which of these is happy? Feeling. That's right. And which of these is something like pig and dog and sun and cloud? What is pig, dog, sun, cloud? Okay, that's right. Good job.
That she adapted from teaching difficult human children with attention deficits. The method is based on using short windows of attention.
When mom is gone, how do you feel? When mom is gone, how do you feel?
And the female bird's preference to manipulate and to get involved.
And what do you think about small words? What are small words? Boring.
Another important sex difference among the parrots I know is the female's enthusiasm for constant chatter, dispute and squabble. Oftentimes, Dani seems very bugged by the female's constant discussions. Males seem much quieter unless they feel challenged. In that case, they just have an urge to outperform the challenger, as I explained in the second video. What I love about Dani is what a good guy and how reliable he is. He is very much into Steffi. He's always there when Steffi is having a difficult time, and he does his very best to make her happy, which is not always easy. You may remember that Steffi is a princess. And since I raised him, he still has a very strong bond with me too. Sometimes it's hard for him to decide whom of us to assist at first. He melts away when both of us, Steffi and I, cuddle with him. While Dani is quite exclusive, Steffi tends to keep her options open. Whenever there's a maybe better option than Dani, she would use all her charm to captivate that one. That's what I also observed many times with other Amazon parrots and macaws. When in a pair bond, it's somehow harder to connect with the males. They just try to make me go away. The females, however, oftentimes seemed interested in interacting with me. It is as if they tend to always look for opportunities to improve their current situation. Pippi is quite special. She doesn't really behave like a female. Instead, she often acts bossy like a male and seems to enjoy rough interactions, even though she is a very small individual without great physical strength. Sometimes I wonder whether she herself knows that she is female and that in terms of body size, she is the smallest in the group. On the other hand, Pippi has a complicated personality structure, like other females. Also, she is very good at using her charms to her advantage, just like other females. Pippi is full of contradictions and super interesting. That's why I'm so excited about her. I want to know how she develops, what her strengths and weaknesses are, whether she changes over time. By now I mentioned several times that Dani often behaves in a bossy, dominant way. But is he really the boss? And is there a hierarchy with Dani being alpha? The answer is no. And it's complicated. But let me explain. Dani, Steffi, Pippi and Jenny have a very complex relationship network. Dani often displays dominant behavior and he thinks that he is in a relationship with Steffi. So he has a strong bond with Steffi. And in this bond, he is trying to take the lead. But Steffi often just refuses to follow. Pippi has a strong bond with Jenny. In their bond, Pippi is trying to take the lead. And Jenny too often refuses to follow. Steffi and Jenny are very manipulative and they pull the strings behind the scenes. Steffi and Jenny decide where they want to sleep and Dani and Pippi just must join their partners in their preferred location. Steffi and Jenny decide whether they want to cuddle and Dani and Pippi just must behave nicely enough to earn their partner's affectionate behavior. If Steffi and Jenny request that their partners come to them, Dani and Pippi just must come. Dani and Pippi behave dominantly, but in many aspects they must comply with their partner's wishes. I think their alpha roles don't mean much within their pair bonds, but the alpha roles mean something to the outside world. Other alphas mostly talk to Dani and sometimes to Pippi. During the day, there are times I perceive as alpha time. That's when all the alphas tell each other how important they are and where their territory is. Outside of the breeding season, the alphas seem to have a good relationship among each other. They can even be friends and clown around together. Thus, Pippi and Dani have developed a good relationship too. Accordingly, Steffi and Jenny are fine with each other. However, it seems like Dani does not like Jenny too much, and things can be very complicated between Steffi and Pippi. There are days when Steffi does not like Pippi, but how can I tell? First, one can tell who likes whom by observing who shares food and water. Steffi and Dani share, as well as Pippi and Jenny. However, Dani and Pippi share too, and Steffi and Jenny are okay sharing food with each other as well. But Dani would never share with Jenny, while Pippi hardly shares with Steffi. Another indicator is who cuddles with whom. Clearly, Dani and Steffi are very close, Pippi and Jenny too. Dani sometimes tickles Pippi, but it seems a bit clumsy. Here I am showing Steffi pictures of Jenny and Pippi. I am asking where Pippi is and where Jenny is. And Steffi just refuses to select the picture card of Pippi. She would not identify Pippi.
Ist die Pippi? Wo ist Steffi? Wo ist denn die Jenny? Da ist die Jenny. Fein. Und die Pippi?
Sometimes Steffi refuses to select certain options, such as magpie or jackdaw pictures. Steffi usually does this when she was annoyed by magpies or jackdaws recently. So we can assume that on the day I recorded this, Steffi was annoyed by Pippi. Then I am asking whether she does not like Pippi. As I often ask Steffi what she likes out of several options, she is used to selecting the option she likes best. Accordingly, Steffi is selecting the card of Jenny. So, Steffi is indicating that on that day she does not like Pippi.
Magst nicht die Pippi? Ist es lieber die Jenny? Oh, Steffi! Wo ist die Jenny?
On the next day, Steffi has no problem with identifying Pippi on a picture.
Fein. Und die Pippi? Fein, Steffi. Machst du das?
I assume on that day there were no major disagreements between Steffi and Pippi. As I mentioned in the Communication Basics video, sometimes my parrots meet other parrots and live together for some weeks or months. And the more individuals there are in the group, the more complex their relationships and interactions get. There are sympathies and antipathies on several levels. In such bigger groups, individuals often split up by their sexes, so there would be a group of males and a group of females. Except for Pippi, she's always at the party location. When the males negotiate their importance, Pippi is there too. When the females dispute and argue, Pippi is disputing and arguing along with them. Depending on the outside challenges, multiple allies and constellations are possible. If a brainy task must be solved, Steffi, Jenny and other smarties take the lead. If men are needed, Dani, Pippi and other dominant individuals act up. So who takes the lead totally depends on the situation, the present individual's capabilities and roles. One time Steffi can be alpha, another time it's Dani, and so on. This flexibility, relationship diversity and multiplication of interactions when there are more individuals brings me to my last item, the group's impact on my parrots' behavior. At first, let me emphasize that the birds know each other and they also know each bird's name as assigned through their humans. My parrots recognize themselves and dozens of other parrots they met from a variety of pictures.
Dani mal her. Komm mal daher. Dani. Wo ist die Steffi? Wo ist die Steffi? Da ist die Steffi. Fein, ganz feine Dani, ja. Ganz fein. Und wo ist die Pippi? Wo ist die Pippi? Fein, das ist die Pippi, genau. Und die Jenny? Wo ist die Jenny? Wo ist die Jenny? Fein, das ist die Jenny, ganz genau. Ja, fein.
And as you already learned a few minutes ago, there are sympathies and antipathies. Despite all complication, living in a group makes all my parrots a bit more resilient. Especially nervous individuals, like Steffi and Jenny, benefit a lot from the group. It's like they have two faces. When surrounded by their group of trusted individuals, they are relaxed. They are Principessa Estefania and Capitana Giovanna. When the group is not there, or when there's someone they don't know, they just would not act normally. They withdraw from scene, sit in a corner and observe skeptically. If you don't know they are there, you would not notice them. And if they are very unhappy, they take more extreme measures and play dead. Pippi loves the Halligalli the group offers. I think for now she could not be happier than she is in this group. And since the arrival of Pippi and Jenny, Danny is not alone with oh-so-sensitive Steffi anymore. He has other playfellows. And as Steffi is often busy with disputing with Pippi and Jenny, he has more time to himself. During the summer, Steffi, Dani, Pippi and Jenny usually spend a couple of weeks at my parents' place with many other parrots. It's amazing how excited all the parrots get when Dani, Steffi, Pippi and Jenny, their fellow holiday friends, show up again. They greet each other and chat a lot. The other parrots try to spend as much time as possible with my group. They carry their food outside and eat where they can watch my 4 parrots, just like I would have my popcorn at a movie theater. What I find intriguing is that Amazon parrots with a normal green color don't seem to like Pippi and Jenny as much as they like Steffi and Dani. Males only get excited about Steffi, never about Pippi or Jenny. And sure, Steffi is a beauty, but Jenny is just as beautiful, with perfect feathering. However, no one ever whistles at Jenny. Also, other males prefer showing off competitions with Dani. They try to ignore Pippi. I wonder whether that has something to do with their color. If the green individuals dislike the yellow ones for the color of their feathers, would that be racism among parrots? That's probably not what one would label it. Actually, trying to avoid the yellow individuals makes sense for the green parrots, because being green is a perfect camouflage when you are prey and rely on being able to hide in trees from birds of prey. If yellow individuals are part of your group, they can be spotted easily from far away and thus pose a threat to the group. Sometimes I'm sorry for Pippi and Jenny for not being as accepted as Steffi and Dani. And maybe that's also the reason why Steffi and Dani tried to stay away from Pippi and Jenny in the beginning, as I mentioned in the first video. Anyways, Steffi and Dani are quite fine with Pippi and Jenny by now. Dani teams up with Pippi from time to time, and he often plays with both Pippi and Jenny, and Pippi and Jenny love that. Did I mention that Dani is a great guy and how much I appreciate him? An interesting fun fact is that after the summer holidays, there's always a boost in my parrots' repertoire of sounds. They adopt many sounds from their fellow species and genus members and include these sounds into their own repertoire of sounds. So let's summarize. Parrots are very social animals with distinct personalities. They are capable of dealing with many other individuals. When they have the opportunity, they set up a network of relationships with sympathies and antipathies. There may even be stuff like social exclusion of minorities with a different feathering color. Moreover, Pippi seems to be outside of the common gender roles. That's a fascinating picture. Life with parrots is super interesting. It's like you live in a daily soap with lots of drama. But it's also a challenge. After all, parrots are wild animals that are designed by nature for survival in the wild. They are not domesticated like dogs, and there was not much of a human influence on their genetics. They have not gone through a long process of selection by humans. They can be overwhelming, and it can be very difficult for us humans to provide for them appropriately. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.